Hello, thank you for joining us for the Boys 18U Division II selection show for Nationals 2024. My name is Paul Gilmore, joined alongside Rob Flatt and the NCHC seating director, Jeremy Caldwell. We thank you for joining us on this particular broadcast. We wanted to take a look at the Boys 18 Division II, and we're going to take a look at first the field. We're going to take a look at the teams that are going to be in this particular division. And I'm going to kick it over to Jeremy so that we can take a look at just the sheer amount of states and teams that are represented. Jeremy, are there any teams or anything that stands out to you?
Well, it's just, out of 32 teams, 14 different states are represented. So that's comparable to the Division III that we probably have seen earlier. So the parity, I believe, this year is also paramount because, as you can see in this field, you have the Indy Northwest Warriors. They're, predominantly top team. The Indy Wildcats, they were the Final Four team last year. You got the Aggieland Panthers that has a pretty good record this year. They've only lost a few games, but when you get to regionals and you're playing against a bunch of the big dogs, you got to show up. And one little mishap at regionals can cost you, a chance to play in Division I. Marion Hawks, I think they made the Elite Eight last year, if I remember correctly. PCA Paladins, they played Manhattan Chief, who's also in here, and they both played for the Division II Undisputed Championship last year in a great game, I think, Paul, that you and I called.
Yeah.
That went to triple overtime at Drury. So, it's going to be a heck of a field, competitive, and I don't know, Rob, you see a few teams that stand out?
Yeah, right off the bat, I'm seeing, Chap Chariots out there in Lansing, Michigan, Fort Bend and FBCHEA Eagles. Both have had some great teams over the years. Hard to pass by and not mention an Arizona team with the Western District champions in EVAC. HSRC, Jeremy, I know they really wanted a shot at Division I at regionals, so you're always going to have in those type of situations, you're going to have competitive teams there. Last year, I believe they did very well at Division I at regionals themselves in HSRC there. Lake Houston Conquerors, like you mentioned, the Marion Hawks. You've got Muddy River this year out of Mississippi, who's a staple at the Gulf Coast, and great having them there. San Marcos Panthers, varsity girls, are the defending national champions, so it's great to see them there. Wichita Warriors have had some great 14 under teams and had some tough teams in the past. And so that's just the 5 through 8s that I just broke down. You mentioned Manhattan and PCA, who's one that I just mentioned there. Both of those teams were playing for 17th place last year, essentially in Division II. Right. And so you mentioned the Indy Wildcats, a national Final Four team from last year. Indy Northwest, both Indy Northwest and the Indy Wildcats are head coached by alumni. Will Tolbert with Northwest Indy and Paul Settle with the Indy Wildcats. And Coach Settle's been there for an undisputed national championship in 2019 as an assistant coach. And so you've got this great group here, a couple Oklahoma teams, the Oklahoma Flame, which is brand new organization this year, and the Oklahoma City Knights, which is the longest, the original Oklahoma organization. And so you've got the newest and the youngest, both in Division II there, and Red River. The North Metro Blazers out of Minnesota won the Northern USA District, and then they won Division II in the Midwest. And I actually was talking to their former coach, Matt Irvin, today. And Matt, wish you the best of luck in recovery from your surgery. Him and his daughter were actually planning on coming out and planning their vacation around nationals this year. Last time I saw Matt or talked to Matt, we actually had the opportunity to call the 2018 buzzer beater game at Central High School between the Wichita Defenders and the Central Virginia Patriots, CVHAA. And I think on that broadcast may have said repeatedly he did it again, even though it wasn't the same player, but it was back-to-back buzzer beaters for Central Virginia. And Matt was on the call for me there. And so I was actually doing a little research on North Metro for this selection show. And they've had a great run, and they've never won a gold ball. So they have an opportunity. The Kalamazoo Cougars, I know that they just won the Michigan State tournament, so they're definitely a tough team, and will definitely they wanted a shot at Division One. And so I think that you got a lot of teams here. Faulkner County Falcons did great at the Gulf Coast District. Dallas Thunders last year, the last few years, they've always just had a way of, even if the expectations weren't that high, doing well. And of course, Bluegrass Blazers, I had a chance to see them at the Southeast. They're a tough team. And then the Columbus Hawks are #1 overall seed in Division II, and actually put themselves in a position where they had qualified and earned a qualifying spot in Division I. And we had a team that was not originally coming, was originally coming, finished 3rd in the Midwest, had an injury, so they weren't coming. And then after figuring out their injury was actually, their player was not out for the year, they actually signed back up. And so with Columbus, we reached out to some teams, and Columbus was a great fit for Division II as the #1 overall seed.
If you go back to that slide, Rob, if you look at this, I just now took a glance through it all, and the Gulf Coast is highly sponsored here. You have Faulkner, Little Rock Flames, who was a Sweet 16 last year. They made Division I last year, made a good run.
Made a great run, best finish ever for them.
Yeah,
the Little
Woody
Rock.
River, PCA, Chess
Yeah.
Patriots, all those are Gulf Coast teams, from the tournament that was started, 3 or 4 years ago down in Monroe, Louisiana. So
Yeah.
that's a good group, good crop there coming from the Gulf Coast. So it's good to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've got good flavor from the Midwest in here, good flavor from the Big South. You mentioned the Gulf Coast District there, and the Heartland regions represented in here. And we mentioned some Southeast teams. So a lot of good flavor. And that Gulf Coast District has been a lot of fun to watch as it's worked its way into the 50s, and is becoming a really great opportunity for East Texas teams, Arkansas, Mississippi, Louisiana teams. And it's been great. And so having a division, this isn't the bottom division. This is a great division. And so having these teams that are kind of earning their way into this Division II, which is right on the cusp of Division I,
Right.
and step above that Division III level. Yeah. Well, we've talked a bunch about the team. So Paul, I'm going to kick this to you. Just take a quick look here, because this is kind of, Jeremy and I have been buried in this. I mean, we've spent days spending hours on the phone, and we've covered some of the stuff here. So this is kind of the first look at the top 2 seeds in each class.
So the way we're doing this selection show is we are going to be revealing different pieces of these divisions as we go along. So you obviously can see on the screen, we've got 4A down to 3A, 2A, and 1A. And the first 2 teams in each division. One thing that's interesting to me is I feel like we're seeing a lot of teams that are matched up so far. I mean, not that they're necessarily playing each other right away, but just being in the same division, you see a lot of teams that normally probably would not face each other, right? You've got Columbus and Faulkner from Arkansas. You got Aggieland, a Kentucky team. You've got Nebraska and Indiana, Dallas and Kansas, right? There's a lot of teams that typically don't come across each other. And that's one thing that's really interesting about nationals. During the regular season, even your district and regionals, you see a lot of the teams and a lot of programs you become familiar with. You get to nationals and sometimes you just have no idea what to expect.
Right.
And a quick glance at this, of the 8 teams that we just previewed to everyone, of the 8, that's 6 different states being represented there in the top 2.
Yeah, and that's a great point. And as I look at this, I realize I may have overlooked a couple teams I definitely shouldn't have. Coach Rollo's Aggieland Panthers, I didn't mention it on the last slide, but that is definitely a team that is going to be in contention for a gold ball here. And the Lincoln Eagles, they went out to the North Texas district. They had success. And then the Heartland district, they believe it was 1 point. They were 1 point shy against the Mid-Missouri Mavericks from getting that win that they needed to lock up their spot. And Coach Adam definitely reached out to Jeremy and myself and wanted to put a good word in for his team for Division I. And so this group right here, every single one of these 8 teams is probably a little disappointed And for being completely honest, a little bit disappointed that they're not in Division I. But when I'm looking at this right off the bat, there's no easy goal ball. If you're one of these two teams, it's not easy. And if you're not one of these two teams, you're going to get put in a bracket with one of these two teams. So let's talk about the format just a little bit now that we've gotten a little bit of an idea of how that's going to work. The Field of 32 format, it's kind of an old school format that we put a little bit of a new twist on. Paul Gilmore and Jeremy both have been coaches at these events. This is probably the format they were used to coming to some degree. And so 4 Division 2A gold balls, silver balls, and 2 Division 2B gold and silver balls. Now that's kind of the twist, along with the whole concept of the bronze ball winner, with both Division 2A and Division 2B having bronze ball winners. We need to make sure to mention this, and on several other slides that will be mentioned, we will just skip over it once we cover it here, but there's not going to be any reseeding. We don't usually reseed for brackets, but because last year we were so heavy on pools, we did a lot of reseeding. So we just felt the need to just start from the right off the bat and say there's not going to be any reseeding. All advancements will be posted in brackets before the events start. And in some cases, we're going to actually even talk about what gold ball winners are going to go to play which gold ball winners and silver ball winners. That's coming right up here. But one of the things to remember is that right off the bat, when you come to nationals, there's 16 games, Division 2A and Division 2B play in. The 16 teams that win will advance right off the bat to the Division 2A. But keep in mind, every team is going to enter nationals. You saw 4A, 3A, 2A, or 1A. You're going to enter into a national championships with 3 teams or 3 games. You're 3 games away from a gold ball. If you can win your bracket, it's a gold ball bracket. You're a gold ball winner. We'll talk about what happens to the gold ball winners in a minute. If you lose your first game, so you're one of the 16 teams that lose, you go to Division 1B. And in Division 1B, you'll move to one of 2 8-team brackets. And these are both gold ball brackets. So again, you'll have an opportunity to compete for a gold ball. That's kind of the new twist. That's a little bit different. In the past, if you lost on Monday, good luck. We got a nice trophy for you that you hope to compete for. But that's not the case anymore. And I think this is a major change, and it's a positive change. And so what you'll see is on Tuesday, you'll have Division 2A gold ball semifinals and Division 2B gold ball quarterfinals. There will be 8 winners from each division that will remain alive for gold balls going into Wednesday, which is absolutely phenomenal in my opinion. The Division 2A winning teams will move to Wednesday's gold ball games. This is so exciting. They will be on NCHBC Wednesday's live stream and feature court. The good news for Division 2 is once you get to Wednesday, as long as you keep winning on those gold ball games, you are going to be on the live stream feature court the rest of the week. And that means Thursday and Friday, that's Drury, only Drury. So that means as long as you're winning, if you win your gold ball on Wednesday, then you're going to move to Drury on Thursday, guaranteed. And you may play on Thursday. I think the schedules are on Wednesday. The schedules are still being set. So I'm not 100% sure who's going to be, which team. Will Division 2 be on Drury, or will they be on our other feature court, which this year will be Ozark High School. But nonetheless, if you win your gold ball or get to your gold ball game, you have earned a spot on the Drury or on a live stream feature court. The Division 2B quarterfinal winners will advance to a Division 2B gold ball semifinal, and the teams that lose in the Division 2B quarterfinals will move to a 8-team copper bracket that will be played out 1st through 8th, Wednesday through Friday. Jeremy, I'm going to go ahead and kick this to you as we add some more teams to the brackets.
Yeah, so as you can see, the 3s and 4s have popped up there. You got the Red River Rattlers and North Metro Blazers going in 4A, going to compete with Columbus Hawks and Faulkner Falcons. And 3A, the Indy Wildcats and Noble Whitley Warriors, 2 Midwest teams pop in there to face off with the Aggieland Bluegrass teams. Class 2A, we got the Oklahoma team, the OKC Knights, and then the Little Rock Flames, who was, last year, Division 1, as we talked about earlier. And then Class 1A, you got the Kalamazoo Cougars and the Oklahoma Flame joining Dallas Thunder and Manhattan Chief. So once again, you know, you got a good variety. You got Texas, Minnesota, Indiana, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Michigan. So a lot of flavor this year in the top four. So you know, you got the Indy Wildcats and Little Rock Flames, who were both D1 last year, and now they're in the top four seeds of the D2 bracket. So
Yeah.
gold balls are not going to be easy to come by this year.
No, no, I really think as you fill in the brackets here, you start to get a kind of an idea of just how tough Division II is going to be. And of course, I do want to point out a couple Indiana teams in Class 3A. Something that we really work hard on is trying to create that flavor. And so a lot of what we're trying to do, we want to make sure those first two games in a bracket, you're playing against someone that, you know, hopefully not from your same state. There are some situations there's not much we can do. But if you're from the same state, hopefully you didn't play each other during the year, or at the very least, not at any of our district or regional events. And so 3 and 4s are going to be, they're basically opposite side of the bracket. And so that's just something to note there, is the 3s and 4s are opposite sides of the bracket, as are the 1s and 2s and 3s. And so we'll talk about a little bit more as we go. But I absolutely think this is, when I look at Class 2A, in past years, that could have been a Division I. I mean, in all reality, that's loaded there. In Class 3A, again, that's got several teams that are Division I caliber on a consistent basis. Class 1A, you know, Manhattan Chief Thunder, they just consistently have been improving each year. This year may not be as tough as they were on paper, but their results, they're continuing to have success. And of course, Dallas Thunder, I mentioned it earlier, there's been years where they just weren't having that great of a year, and then they peaked right at the right time, had a great run at regionals, and then they're able to continue on at nationals. And I love seeing that. And of course, 4A, we talked about North Metro, we talked about Faulkner, you got Columbus and Red River there. So this is great. I love it. We're going to keep on moving. And I do have to point out Class 2A, that's my original homeschool basketball team was the Oklahoma City Knights. That was my first team I ever played for. So it's great seeing them in there. And as that 2A really catches my eye. If I had to watch one Final Four right off the bat, I'm looking at that and just saying that's tough. That's tough. Indy Northwest is always a tough team, and they've always find a way to be competitive. You got Little Rock, who was hot last year, best run they've ever had. Deepest, I think they finished 6th place last year, or top 5, and then you have Oklahoma City Knights there. So I'm gonna keep us moving on the format here. Wednesday, Division 2A gold ball games at Ozark and Drury. We talked a bit about that already. The live stream broadcast. If they're fortunate enough, they'll have both of you guys calling their broadcast or their game. Very possible.
Highly possible.
Yep. The Class 4A, 3A, and 2A gold ball winners will advance to the 2A gold ball showdown series semifinals. That will be at Thursday at Drury, as we already mentioned. The 4 teams that lost the gold ball game, they have earned a silver ball, and they will be playing the silver ball showdown series semifinals. They'll be played 1st through 4th, Thursday and Friday. The Division 2B semifinal winners advance to their gold ball games, while the 4 losing teams in Division 2B, and again, Division 2B, they lost their play-in game, then they'll have won a couple games and to be in this spot here. And so if they lose division in their gold ball semifinals, they will move to a bronze ball semifinal bracket that will be played out 1st through 4th for Division 1B, Thursday and Friday. As we keep moving on Thursday and Friday, the gold ball showdown series is played out with the winners advancing on Thursday to their Friday's national finals for Division 2A. And again, that will be on the national broadcast. We've covered everything else, including the no reseed. So I'm going to just keep on moving. I'm going to kick this to Paul here.
Yeah, so we talked about this idea of a no reseed. This field of 32 format is obviously a more traditional bracket. So the benefit of that, obviously, if you're a coach or a player or a family, is you can take a look, like Rob said, at the bracket, and you can see exactly how your team is going to advance, win or loss. And just wanted to clarify, in previous years, we've done the classes and they've been based on program size. So this year, the classes are not based at all on program size. As a matter of fact, they're more based on the seeding. So for example, class 4A has the highest seeds, or at least the number 1 overall seed, and then 3A, 2A, 1A. But I just wanted to point out as well that obviously doesn't mean that, that doesn't show the class of the teams that are in all of those other brackets. People got to be seeded somewhere. And I think it's been seeded really well. I can't wait to see how the rest of the brackets play out with those other 4 teams in each bracket.
Yeah, and that's a good point. We have moved away over the last couple of years from the classifications by program size. I think it's been a great adjustment. The years that we had it, I think they served their purpose. But I think as time went on, we started finding there was less and less of a divide between maybe the size of the programs. And so I think that making the move here has been a real adjustment. Last year was our first year fully away from it, and then this year's year 2 on it. So it's very interesting. I'm interested to see how it plays out. But like you mentioned, I think Jeremy's done a great job with the seeding. He's 100% right now. None of the favorites have lost yet. So this is the most safe time to be in charge of seeding is before the games are actually played. Speaking of games being played, no one can play games without brackets. So be watching out for those. March 8th, we'll be making those announcements on social media. We'll definitely get an email out as well by no later than Saturday. If you're not into the social media aspect, we do recommend having at least one person for every team that's paying attention to the social media pages, because we're putting out new information all the time, whether it's the 3-point tryout information, dunk tryout information, or dunk semifinal submission information. We're always putting out new information, and that will be no different this coming week here, or this actual week as we're gearing up for nationals. Opening game times, you should already have those by now. If not, we're running against the deadline, and we'll definitely be getting those up on social media here very soon. But for all intents and purposes, this is a big change for the 18U. We will be playing games Monday and Tuesday throughout the AM and PM. So if you're sharing with players on other teams, Monday and Tuesday will be difficult, very difficult for dual roster players. Please plan accordingly. This is going to be the biggest impact that we're going to see. This probably would be Varsity Boys Division 1, because just the sheer number of games that those teams are playing with the double headers, and they're going to have to play earlier in the day. So Division 2, be aware that that is happening. We are working on trying to make sure Monday and Tuesday to put our high school teams on the best courts we can possible, which does impact the start times. And the part of that change is that we want the best courts for 1, fan environment, and 2, we also want the best use of the 3-man crews. There's certain facilities that just 3-man crews are not as advantageous. So Wednesday and Friday, we do hope that fans will have very little competing with their boys 18 under games. And I think that's something that's important. So Monday and Tuesday, we ask you to bear with us a little bit. And then Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, we hope to give you guys a national experience where all your fans can be rooting your 18U teams on, and hopefully in facilities and courts that allow noisemakers, if you're into that.
Yep, and here's the full bracket, full team list in each pool, or each class. So as you can see, there's a good mixture of states within each bracket. We try not to load any bracket with, 1 or 2 states. As you can see, though, the Texas teams carry a lot of weight here. They bring a lot of teams, so it involves a lot of hours to try and make sure that we don't have Texas playing Texas first game, hopefully second game. But Big South being the largest region of all the tournaments, a lot of teams come up to nationals from the Big South, also the Midwest. So it makes it a little difficult, but nothing that a little bit of time and a few late hours can't control. But so as you can see here, we got Arizona from EVAC there joining the Class 3A, along with Wichita Warriors out of Kansas, Decent Riders out of Texas, and the Chef Patriots out of Louisiana. So Class 2A, you got Muddy River from Mississippi, Lake Houston out of Texas, Chat out of Michigan, and Cash Eagles out of Indiana. Up in Class 1A, you got Anderson Sons from Indiana, PCA out of Louisiana, San Marcos out of Texas, HSRC out of Illinois, Oklahoma. Class 1A may be the most diverse. I think there are 7 different states, if I'm not mistaken, in that pool, in that bracket. And if I'm not mistaken, Rob, when we were looking at this the other day, I think 2 or 3 of these brackets had 7 states represented in each one of them. So it's a good mix, good flavor. So hopefully these teams have not met each other on a regular basis. And that's one thing we try to do is, you know, when you drive all that way to Springfield, Missouri, that you play teams that you don't normally see, even though you know, you have friends and foe from close by, but you know, both of you don't want to drive that far and have to play each other. So Class 4A, you know, we got Cornerstone Eagles, which is a new team joining us this year, playing under USA Provisional. And then you got Tulsa Chef Arrows out of Oklahoma, Marianne Hawks out of Ohio, Fort Bend Eagles out of Texas. So I think that's another state there that's got 7 different, another bracket that's got 7 states represented as well. So
Yeah.
a lot of flavor.
Well, we have 3 goal ball classes with 7 states, it looks like here, and one that's really boring with just 6. But it's a phenomenal deal. And when I take a look at this, I think something that like you mentioned, we work really hard to try to create some flavor when possible. When you have this many states and you have the ability to break it down like this, it's phenomenal. You get Indiana Anderson Sons versus Dallas Thunder in the first round, Manhattan Chief Thunder versus PCA Paladins out of Louisiana, the Kalamazoo Cougars versus San Marcos Panthers, and Oklahoma Flame versus HSRC. Something that we try to take a look at is, hey, did Oklahoma Flame, them and Dallas Thunder both went to North Texas District. Did they play each other? And of course, no, they did not play each other, unless maybe we missed it. And in this case, I double checked it and I don't believe they have. So if Flame wins, they'll play the Dallas Thunder. And that's a team that they have not played during the year. And we take the same look. If HSRC wins or loses and Anderson Sun lose, those are both the lower seeds and they're both from the Midwest. Have they played each other several times throughout the year? And these are the type of things that we take a look at. Obviously, there's upsets that can take place. There's so many different scenarios that can take place. But when you're getting 2A, Nebraska, Texas opening round, Mississippi versus Indiana, Oklahoma, Michigan, Arkansas, Indiana. It's phenomenal. I mean, if this was football, it would be exciting. Just as you start breaking these down. And again, 3A, Texas, Louisiana. Although we know Texas would dominate that in any football game. Kentucky versus Arizona. Sorry, Jeremy, I got to pick on our LSU fan here. Indiana, Kansas, and Indiana, Texas. Again, that's some great flavor there. And then 4A, Indiana, Louisiana, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas, Ohio, Minnesota, and Texas. And we'll talk about Team USA's, but if you see a team that has a team name and they have a USA after their name, it just simply means that they're playing by provisional rules. It could be numerous different reasons. It always has to do with the eligibility situation. Just like the Team USA's, we allow a Team USA that doesn't meet our eligibility guidelines to play, but they have certain stipulations for how they can compete. And the same goes for teams that have a provisional approval. But we'll cover that here in probably 1 or 2 slides. Well, there we go. So our very next slide covers that. So Team USA is not able to eliminate a team from trophy contention, whether that's gold ball, silver ball, bronze ball, copper bracket. It doesn't really matter. A Team USA is able to, their first couple games are probably going to be losses based on the way that this is broken down. And then after that, they're treated like a normal team. And so we don't have pools, so we don't have to worry about that. It's just regardless of the final score, we have certain things that are programmed, and so that automatically takes place. If you see a Team USA advancing towards a gold ball, please let us know. That was a mistake. And so what we're really excited about nationals. This breakdown for the Division II teams, when we looked at this, it was I don't know. I think that to win a gold ball, the concept is there's a lot of gold balls, but there's not easy gold balls. And I think that's really the key here is these teams that are winning gold balls, they're finding a way, especially in Division II, they're finding a way with dealing some disappointment of coming into nationals, maybe not where they actually want to be, but they're able to handle that disappointment and bring it together. And it hopefully for the teams that succeed, it becomes some of their best memories, if not their best memories ever at nationals. And back in the day, seeds 25 through 48 were maybe they had a shot at a Sweet 16 appearance, but we've never had a team from 25 ever even make it to the national finals. Maybe we've had a team sneak into the Final Four at a top 25. I'd have to really dig there. Actually, I don't have to dig too far. The Memphis FCA Nighthawks one year they out of the 31st overall seed knocked off the Indianapolis Wildcats in their first ever year to nationals, and that was a pretty big upset. But that was also a time where we did all the seeding strictly based on max preps before we figured out that that could be manipulated by taking scores out or picking up easy wins, different things like that that made it so that we realized max preps aren't the most reliable way to do seeding. So we have had situations where teams have made a deep run to the Final Four, never to the national finals out of that position. And so these teams here are going to have an opportunity to make a deep run out of a great year, but maybe not the results that they were hoping for at regionals. And it's a division full of teams that I think are going to leave it out there. And I really don't know if there is, once you get to that Tuesday, I'm not sure if there's going to be a more competitive field than Division II. And we had to have those gold ball games on live stream broadcast courts for Division II, because I really believe that we could have overtime, double overtime, triple overtime games. We saw it. They put us behind last year, Division II. Manhattan and PCA put us behind with just that thriller there. Manhattan forcing the first overtime, and it went 3 overtimes before the Manhattan Chief finally walked away as the overall Division II champion. So if we are treated with any type of game as good as that finals was last year, and I know we had some great gold ball games. I remember San Antonio Patriots in a great game, I think against PCA. And so we're really excited about this field. Can't wait to see everyone at nationals. And Paul and Jeremy are going to probably lose their voice calling games. Hopefully not until the end of the week, but it's always a highlight of everyone's week on our staff and on our the people that come out, and the coaches, the players. We know that's the highlight for them. The parents maybe, but definitely the parents and the players and the coaches and our people that are doing the broadcast for us. We know it's a highlight, and we can't wait to be able to continue to announce the brackets and see everyone at nationals.
See you next week.